Cam Ward passed his final preseason test with flying colors. And we're going to break it all down on a live edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland, Titans fans. On today's show, we are going to break down everything you need to know coming out of the Tennessee Titans' final preseason game against the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to talk about Cam Ward. It started a little rough, but I thought he passed the final test with flying colors. We're also going to talk about how some of these roster spots are starting to take focus. Jefferson went nuts, but we got some clarity on the offensive line. Also on defense, we're seeing things kind of come into focus as well. So before I get into everything you need to know from the Tennessee Titans' final preseason game of the year, do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed. Stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. The season is literally 2 weeks away. I'm going to have you covered on all the conversations, all the news, all the film that you can handle here on the Locked On Titans podcast. So make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. With that being said, Cam Ward passed the final test, in my opinion, with flying colors. The statistics don't look mind-blowing when you look at all these other rookie quarterbacks who are getting to play multiple quarters and things like that. Cam Ward's stats aren't going to look like that because he's being treated as a starting quarterback. But we got some points up on the board, which is something that I was asking for when we talked about our preview episode. I wanted to see the first-team offense put some points up on the board, and they got a touchdown there on that second drive. Cam Ward goes 13 plays, all the way down the field, super long drive, methodical, love seeing that. On the preseason overall, 10 for 19, 145 yards, and again, I know that the stat sheet doesn't look absolutely incredible, but what you wanted to see from Cam Ward, he gave you. No penalties for the offense while he was out there. I love that. Really love that, and really asked for that, a clean game to progress in that way. The Titans have had some penalties here and there when Cam Ward has been out there in preseason. Now they're able to kind of put that past them, be a much cleaner operation, improving as they should as the weeks go on. But you talk about Cam Ward individually, we get the great completion on the sideline to Jefferson, the 17-yard gain. And I know Jefferson had one a lot longer than that down the sideline, but with Cam Ward, he gets the completion to Jefferson on the sideline. We get the sidearm throw to Alec Iomanner near the goal line that's almost a touchdown and sets up the touchdown on the very next play. So I feel like why the stats aren't gaudy for Cam Ward, once again, you look at the preseason as a whole, and Cam Ward did everything that we wanted him to do, right? Think about from the moment Cam Ward has been drafted, he's passed the test. Cam Ward has checked every single box that you want him to check at every single step of the way, whether it be the rookie minicamp, whether it be the offseason mandatory minicamp, voluntary program work, whether it be early training camp, whether it be in the joint practices, whether it be in the preseason game. Has it all been great? No, each individual moment has had its ups and downs, but Cam Ward always responds. It reminds me of the old Dwayne Wade commercial, knock down 7 times, stand up 8. That's Cam Ward. Cam Ward has responded if he had a bad day or a bad performance or a bad drive or there's a bad play, or sometimes it's not even his own mistakes. The Titans get a penalty and it's 1st and 20 or it's a 3rd and long, a wide receiver drops a pass and this and that. No matter what it is, Cam Ward has found a way to respond every single way. So that, to me, incredible. The leadership that we've seen, that we've talked about, incredible. This goes back to why I have so much confidence in Cam Ward. As I talked about earlier this week, like my everydayers will remember, like we've seen the off-field leadership, we've seen the on-field intangibles, and again tonight, we saw Cam Ward with touch throws. We saw Cam Ward with arm angles. We saw Cam Ward getting out of the pocket and escaping and doing playmaking stuff. We have seen literally every aspect of his game. And in the first game, 2 turnover-worthy plays. In the second game, none. In tonight's game, not even close. Not even a bad throwaway wide receiver screen. Not even that in tonight's game. Cam was so clean, looked so calm, cool, and collected. And the entire time, he's playing without Tony Pollard, without Calvin Ridley, with 3 out of 5 backup offensive linemen. So it's not even like the Titans' full starting offense with the important pieces were out there for Cam Ward. And he was still so calm, so cool, so collected, so poised under pressure. And again, I hate to do this. I hate to, crap on Will Levis or whatever, but it's funny. And credit to Manuel Pearson. And the chatter just said exactly what I was about to say. The footwork for Cam Ward looks so different from Will Levis. Cam Ward's poise in the pocket when things get... And Cam Ward got sacked tonight for the first time in his Titans career. I never want to see it again. How dare you? How dare you let Cam Ward get sacked? Despicable. All right? Never again. I never want to see that again. All right? That was enough for me. That was enough trauma for one lifetime to see Cam Ward go down. I don't want to see it ever again. All right? I'm done with it. Never again. Okay? But seriously, watching Cam Ward navigate in the pocket, and I will say one thing here. The Joe Burrow comparisons or whatever, they were both number 1 picks. The Titans Callahan's connections with Cincinnati, all that. The Joe Burrow thing is obvious. But if you have watched Joe Burrow really play football, he is a savant in the pocket. Joe Burrow is incredible in the pocket. Is Joe Burrow Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels? Is he that? Jalen Hurts? No, he is not. Make no mistake about it. But if you've seen Joe Burrow slither and navigate through the pockets, if you've watched Joe Burrow against the Titans, you know that he may not have Lamar and Josh Allen running ability, but he can absolutely slither around pockets and keep plays alive because he's got such great awareness and such great instincts and such great feel. That is what I think that we should expect and what I think that we're seeing from Cam Ward. Does he have the explosive running ability of a Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? No, he doesn't, okay? He's not that. But his ability to manipulate pockets, feel the space, keep his poise while he's going through that. He's like freaking going through Raiders of the Lost Ark like he's Indiana Jones. And he's just no sweat about it. No problem. No big deal. Whatever. I'm just out here playing. It ain't that hard. So I think after watching, and maybe it's just the trauma of last season, but after watching Will Levis be so happy feet in the pocket and be so rattled by any pressure and just immediately like watching Will Levis, you know what I mean? Like it's the visual representation of that happening. Just a total freak out. Cam Ward is like the opposite of that. He's like, again, I keep saying it, he's the one because of his jersey number, but he's like Neo in the Matrix. Like the code is streaming down and Cam Ward can see it all. And he's like, oh yeah. And think this is just preseason action. This is his first. Imagine Cam Ward in year 3, how calm and poised and cool he's going to be under pressure. That's what I'm most excited about is just how calm and just how poised he looks like he belongs already. So it's against backups, but the Titans' offensive line is mostly backups and no Calvin Ridley, no Tony Pollard. Again, at the end of the day for me, Cam Ward passed the test. I'm not concerned about him going into the season. I think he's going to be one of the best players on the team right away. Not only is he going to give the Titans a better chance to compete on Sundays, but folks, let's all just be real with each other for a moment. No matter how many games this team wins this year, boy, it's going to be a lot more fun to kick on the TV on Sundays and watch this football team. And isn't that really what the win is for us? Isn't that really what we need this year? We know the Titans aren't going to win the Super Bowl and stuff like that. So just be entertaining, be fun. Don't be a clown show like you were last year all season. That's what we need. And what I've seen from Cam Ward so far, I'm at least confident in Cam Ward that that'll be the case. They won't be a complete clown show and at least be fun to watch. And I hope that that's the case. But with that being said, there are some other players on the team that had a great game. Van Jefferson revenge game. He said, shut your mouth, all you complainers out there, and hey, we got to give credit where credit is due. Today's episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year, and NFL kickoff is almost here. That means fantasy football season is back in full swing, and this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, I'm going to be playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too. Whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league, Yahoo's been doing this for a long time. They perfected the draft day experience. Their app is absolutely fantastic. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try if you're more into the classics. You could still play head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, breaking down everything that happened in the Tennessee Titans' third preseason game of the year. We talked about Cam Ward and him passing the final test of the preseason. Now I want to go to the offensive side of the ball and talk about some of the guys that I thought stood out. And I think some of the roster spots we started to get a clearer picture of in this game. But anyways, Van Jefferson went insane in this game. He had a couple of catches from Cam Ward. He caught that insane pass on the sideline, did a half spin, dipsy doodled all the way down, showing speed to the end zone. It was an absolute fantastic day for Van Jefferson, and you got to feel good for the guy. You go last week, you have the big drop, everybody's on your back, and then you come back in this game and 3 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown. Like, he had a good week of practice, too. Van Jefferson really cemented himself this week as an important player on this football team. And I think that, obviously the drop is unfortunate. And Van Jefferson is Van Jefferson. Just like there was overreaction to the drop last week, there is going to be overreaction to the way that he played this week and be like, oh, wow, Van Jefferson's better than I thought. No, Van Jefferson's just another guy. He's just your average veteran wide receiver, and you shouldn't get your hopes up too much that he's going to have some crazy breakout season or anything like that. But we did see why Van Jefferson is on the team. He's 6'2", and look at the speed that he has. The Titans don't have a ton of speed on the team. So not only having speed, but size and speed, that is absolutely critical for the Titans this year. So Van Jefferson's going to make this team. He had a really good game. It was good for him to kind of get the fan base off his back a little bit. But either way, we know that Van Jefferson is going to make this roster, and I doubt, obviously, if there's any trade or anything coming like that. But hey, if you do want to trade for Van Jefferson, look at how good he played. So with that being said, though, staying on offense, Alec Iomanner is going to be a good player, man. He's getting better at sitting in the zones. He's catching with his hands. He's getting upfield. He's getting more comfortable. Him and Cam clearly have a connection. Like, Cam and Io already have formed a bond. You can see it every single game. You see Cam going to Io nonstop. So I just think if you really want to get hyped up right now, you really want to get hyped, the connection between Cam and Io is what really should have you super excited. 3 catches, 25 yards on the day. He's going to be somebody who helps. And again, just like I talked about with Van Jefferson, the Titans don't have a lot of size and speed guys. So having 6'2" Alec Iomanner, who also has some speed out there, again, critical for the Tennessee Titans this year. They need those type of players as much as they can get them, so that was impressive. 2 running back. We got to start with Kal-El Mullings because Superman had an incredible run with the first-team offense where you saw Corey Levin and Peter Skoronski pulling out in front of him. He got up. I was so impressed with Mullings in this game, and then he gets hurt on the opening kickoff of the second half. I saw somebody call it a foot injury. I'm hoping that it's an ankle sprain. If it's a foot injury, might be a broken foot. He might be out for a long time. So let's hope it's like a sprained ankle and he can come back in a month or something like that. But if it's a broken foot, that's going to be tough. So let's hope it's not foot. Let's hope that it's ankle. All right. But with that being said, I thought Mullings looked awesome. Julius Chestnut, the preseason all-star that he is, looked awesome out there. Julius Chestnut, once again, doing his thing, got the hurdle, gets the touchdown on that fourth down, Gunnar Helm. But anyway, the problem is if Mullings is hurt, that really muddies the water at the running back spot. And I think that Chestnut is somebody who I think I'm going to have making the team just because they trust him so much. And if Mullings is hurt, it's no doubt about it there. No doubt to do that. But the question becomes if Mullings is hurt for a long time and the Titans are going to put him on IR or something like that, do they just keep Chestnut and say, we got 3 running backs, but Tajay Spears is still banged up. So how comfortable they are with his help? They probably need to keep a 4th running back on the roster just in case Tajay isn't ready or gets banged up immediately right again or has a setback. Like, you can't just have Chestnut and Pollard on the roster with Spears, and then if Spears isn't good to go, now you're down to Pollard and Chestnut. That's no good. So let's hope Mullings' injury isn't that serious. Let's hope he's able to come back pretty quick. But running back is going to be one of those spots I'm going to have my eye on over the weekend, and we really need to get that injury update. But unfortunate to see Mullings running so well and then have what could be a big injury. So let's hope that it's not. But moving to tight end, I just have a few things to say here. Chigga just sucks at blocking. He's awful. There was a run where if he just made his block, they had a good play, he got beat one-on-one. He just cannot line up and block defensive ends. You just can't ask him to do that. And meanwhile, Gunnar Helm, who I just, talked about, Gunnar Helm is moving bodies on 4th down, getting guys out of the way. Gunnar Helm's tight end 1. I've been saying it since he was drafted. I'm sorry. It comes from multiple places. It comes from belief in Gunnar Helm and also reality of what Chigga is. He's not a tight end 1. He can't do traditional tight end things. He's lost some weight and slimmed down and got more explosive this year, and I love that, but that's going to make him even worse of a blocker. So we know exactly what we need to know about the tight end group, and it's Chigga and it's Gunnar Helm, and Gunnar Helm should be tight end 1. I think the Titans are only going to end up keeping 3 tight ends. I'm not fully convinced Josh Wiley isn't that 3rd tight end, although, it's more interesting to say otherwise. I'm still trying to decide on my final 53, and that's what I'll be talking about on my first 2 episodes of next week. Sunday night and Monday night, I'll come out with part 1 and part 2 of my 53-man roster predictions. Although, a ton of spots are going to change after the Titans pick up people on waivers. But we'll have that as part of the discussion. But either way, the point is, I think that the Titans only have 2 good tight ends, and I'm not certain that any of the other 3 should be tight end 3 if the Titans don't find a good player on waivers. I didn't see anybody stand out. On the offensive line, the phone is ringing. Pick it up. The Titans didn't have Lloyd Cushenberry, Kevin Zeitler, or J.C. Latham. And guess who played? Corey Levin, Blake Hance, Ali Udo. There's your backup offensive lineman. Add in Jackson Slater, who's absolutely going to make the team as a rookie. 9 offensive linemen. There's your answer. I'll see you guys on Sunday night when I say those exact same names. Not that I'm ending the show right here. We got to talk about the defense, but I'm just telling you, we know our 9 offensive linemen. We know. That's tonight, in my opinion, set it in stone based on the starting lineup that came out there. So with that being said, that's the offensive side of the ball. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball where both the young linebackers made plays. And one of the interior defensive linemen really, really stood out and I think cemented his role on the roster. Today's episode is brought to you by Betterhelp. These days, it feels like there's advice for everything. Cold plunges, gratitude journals, screen detoxes. But how do you know what actually works for you? With so much information online about mental health and wellness, it can be overwhelming to figure out what's true and what will actually help. That's where talking to a licensed therapist through BetterHelp can make all the difference. You get real personalized guidance instead of just guessing on something that you saw on social media. BetterHelp has over 30,000 therapists They're the world's largest online therapy platform, and they've served more than 5 million people. And I think that success comes from having so many therapists so you can make sure that you find the right person for you. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Cam Ward passing the test. We talked about my takeaways from the offensive side of the ball and what we have learned roster-wise. Now I want to move to the defensive side of the ball where, again, both those young linebackers really stood out, and there are some more certification, I would say, of roster spots on defense as well. Before we get into it, I do want to thank you again for making the Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. We just had an insane incident at the Titans game. I'm recording this during the end of the fourth quarter, and something crazy just happened. If you know, you know. But anyways, defensive side of the ball. Cedric Gray, tackle for loss, all over the field, hitting people, all of that. Then James Williams gets the interception. Both of those guys have really performed pretty well. And I know that I feigned isn't the right word. I know that I had skepticism earlier this week about the linebacker group, but either way, no matter who's on the field with Cedric Gray and James Williams, I'm going to be excited to watch those young guys play. And I think both of them have shown that they're good enough that they deserve the opportunity to be a starter if they need to. So, I'm very excited about those guys. Can't wait to watch them play. Over the next couple of weeks, that might be one of the film breakdowns that I focus on before the season, is just comparing those two guys during the preseason this year and what they've done so far, but got to be excited about that. I don't know that they have a fourth linebacker, though, and I think that could be a waiver wire discussion. But James Lynch, the Titans' backup interior defensive lineman, James Lynch went crazy out there, man. He had a great game. Pressures, got a couple of tackles. He was all in the backfield. On the interception by James Williams, it was actually James Lynch who won on the rep, got into the backfield. See, this is a great example. It's the preseason, so we can have these conversations. This is a great example of how the box score, the stats, don't always tell the whole story. Because James Lynch got to the quarterback, hit the quarterback made a bad pass that floated up in the air, and James Williams intercepted it. If you looked at a traditional box score without pressures, you would never know James Lynch made that important of a play. He gets zero credit for it in the tackles, sacks, tackles for loss categories that are easily seen by the mass fan bases. Think about that. That's football right there. That is your brother on the D-line makes a play that he'll get no credit for, except for with me, James Lynch, except for with me. And it looks like James Williams made an incredible play with an interception, you know? But the incredible play, that was an easy interception. The incredible play was James Lynch winning on the rep, getting the quarterback hit and the quarterback pressure and causing the pass to go up in the air. That's team football right there. So I think James Lynch certified his roster spot as IDL4 in this game, but IDL5 still up in the air. I thought this was Femi Oladejo's best game. Everybody loves to hate on Femi like he's not a project pick, but I thought he had a couple of pressures in this game. I thought this was easily his best game from a pass rush standpoint. So I don't understand where the hate is coming from. If you're mad he's not further along than he is right now, then sure, be mad about that, but you can't say that he played bad in this game when I thought it was his best pass rush game so far. But either way, I think Mike Brown at safety certified his spot as safety number 5. And I think a big part of that is he is the personal protector on punt. Like, he's a very important, we talked about this last week of why I thought it would be hard for Kendall Brooks to break through, even though Kendall Brooks has been playing good. But I think it's going to be hard for Kendall Brooks to break through when Mike Brown is that important on special teams. Finally, a couple of other things on special teams. Why is Mason Kinsey at gunner on the starting punt return team? Mason Kinsey's not making the roster. Why aren't we trying out somebody who might make the roster or somebody who might actually do that for you on a game day? Why is Mason Kinsey being the starting gunner? I don't understand why that's happening. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me personally. But outside of that, some of the return stuff was shaky again. Some of the coverage teams. There was a penalty for Minnesota that ruined a really good kick, but I'm not 100% excited about the special teams. I will say this, though. Johnny Hecker punted the ball a lot better. Joey Sly hit a 63-yarder, the longest kick in Tennessee Titans history, and it could have been good from 70. And then Chim Dike had a 37-yard kickoff return, which I think Chim Dike, in a perfect world, Chim Dike is the starting kick returner and punt returner, and then like your number 4 wide receiver for the next 3 or 4 years, who could play Z for Calvin Ridley or play in the slot as well. That's what I see Chim Dike's role. If he's wide receiver 4, who's versatile enough to play a bunch of different positions on offense, can use his speed where you need to create matchups, but he's your number 1 punt returner and your number 1 kickoff guy, that is the best outcome possible for Chim Dike. I think that would be a great, great team player for the Titans going forward. So, wanted to hit on the special teams a little bit there. But with that being said, that is going to do it for today's show. I'm going to do start next week, my last and final 53-man roster prediction. So make sure that you guys tune in for that. But that's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.